Howdy folks, and welcome back to another episode of Tyria Talk. My name is Richie, and this show is all about the terrific upcoming MMO, Guild Wars 2. This is episode number 32, and today I'm going to be talking about an update to Endgame and Legendary Weapons. That's right, ArenaNet went on live on Twitch TV yesterday, and Eric Flannum and Colin Johanson gave us an update to some of the things, specifically Endgame, and we've got some new bits of information to pour over, and it's all exciting stuff. So you ready? Okay, let's do it then. So, first thing they talked about was the fact that up till now, all that we've gotten really from ArenaNet in terms of Endgame is just kind of philosophical, their philosophy behind what they want to do with Endgame. And just, I've talked about this before, and everyone's kind of talked about, what is the end game in Guild Wars 2, and there's a lot of debate going on, and it seemed like they wanted to just clear some things up, that they do think about endgame, they do have endgame in mind. It's just, a little bit different than what, most MMOs are delivering these days. And the core philosophy is still the same. They don't want you to be leveling up with you and like 5 buddies, having fun, and then suddenly, because you hit max level, now you suddenly need 40 people to do raids, or 25 people to do raids, or whatever group size it is. They want you to be able to have the same group of people, and, it doesn't matter if it's large or small, and just continue to do the same things that you were doing all the way along. They also don't want to force you to do things that you don't want to do. So, if you didn't enjoy doing any dungeons during the level up process, then they don't want to make it so you have to do dungeons once you hit level 80. And so that philosophy is still intact. But what they said, they gave us a little bit more information about like what kind of things you will be doing and why you're going to be doing them. So the big thing that they kind of mentioned was the islands of Or, all right, the peninsula of Or that has risen from Guild Wars 2. Just a little bit of quick back history in case you don't know. Or in Guild Wars 1, well, you don't even get to go to Or in Guild Wars 1, but Or used to be a holy land, right? And it used to be one of the prominent human civilizations. And when the Char took over Ascalon, the Char eventually made their way down to Or, and they started to siege Or. And, long story short, one of the viziers that was supposedly defending Or actually read a kind of forbidden scroll and kind of blew up Or, and it sunk beneath the water. And that was like bad and stuff. Yeah, so aren't I good at telling the lore of Guild Wars? Yeah, I'm pretty good at it. So anyway, so Or sunk beneath the water, and as part of the lead up to Guild Wars 2, Zaitan, the Elder Dragon, big bad guy that we're going to be, facing off against when the game goes live, he actually woke up beneath Or, rose it from the ocean, and created a whole bunch of tidal waves that destroyed lots of things. Lion's Arch, was one of those things that kind of got messed up. And so Or is kind of back, but it's all these like smashed little bits of island. And Zaitan basically controls all of these ruins and stuff that have been underneath the Sea of Sorrows for a long time. So anyway, all that said, this is going to be a high-level zone where players actually have to kind of like work together to kind of take this place over. There are no renowned hearts on this map. It's all dynamic events, and in fact, it's so densely populated with dynamic events. They said that each of these maps has close to double the number of events as other maps, which sounds like a lot. And like just to get players just to get a foothold on getting into these maps, they have to assault. Kind of like they said, storming the beaches of Normandy. They have to assault these islands in some way or form. They can do it by like ships. They can come in on ships and submarines, they said. You can launch golems through the air to land on the beach. You can go with the ground troops over these bridges and different pontoons and stuff. But anyway, you have to do these dynamic event chains to kind of assault and gain a foothold on the island. And once you do that, then you can kind of go into into these maps a little bit more. And you're going to discover that all of the old human gods have big temples here that are corrupted, and you can try to kind of take them over. Now, if you don't take them over, there's these little statues located all over these maps that actually do bad things to you as you get near them. They could sap some of your ability to heal. They can grasp you with different vines and roots and different things. And so the more of these corrupted temples the players take over through dynamic event chains, the easier it is to actually make progress through the zone of Or. And the big prize at the end is there's actually a way to gain access to the final dungeon in Guild Wars 2. And it's really hard to get to, and it's very well defended, and it's got all these statues near it. So to actually get access to this dungeon, players actually have to take over large portions of this island through these dynamic events and keep them. And then you can go into the dungeon where I'm going to assume it's the dungeon on Ore, where you're going to eventually go down and beat Zaitan. Or fight Zaitan. We don't know exactly what's going to happen with that. So all that said is, it sounds like it's going to be a constant ebb and flow of people trying to, trying to like take over this zone so that you can have access to that dungeon. And it sounds like that, you know, if you kind of like give them an inch, they'll swim all over you. Then you'll kind of lose parts of the island. So it's kind of interesting. There's a couple different things I feel about it. One is it sounds pretty epic, and I'm sure that it's going to be amazing to do. My concern about it is long term. All right, so game comes out, everyone levels to 80, then we start to work on Ore. Wow, every server's got to kind of work on this. It's hard to keep things. Really cool stuff. We unlock the dungeon. We go in the dungeon. It's really hard to beat, and it's going to have a story mode, explorable modes, blah blah blah. But months later, is it going to be something that people are always holding Ore? Are we going to constantly find lots of people battling an Ore, or do people get bored of it and move on? And then when you want to do that dungeon, it's like really difficult to get the people to kind of break in. I wonder how that's going to work exactly. It might work out fine. It might be like that Ore is just so cool, and they keep adding like new things to it and rotating things that it's just where you hang out when you're max level, and you constantly want to take those off. Or it could be something that once people I'm talking months down the line, guys. If it gets a little bit old, a little bit boring, or a little bit too difficult to get enough people to kind of hold these things, is it going to be a kind of thing where you never really get to do that dungeon whenever you want? And on the one hand, I think that's good, because you don't want to just be able to always just run into the dungeon and beat Zaitan. Oh, you want to go kill Zaitan? All right, sure. And it's like this half hour, 45-minute thing. You just run the dungeon and do Zaitan. No, it should be kind of like this effort where a lot of people have to like work together to clear your way to this dungeon, and then you can take your group of heroes in. So I like the realism of that. I just wonder how it's going to play out long term. I do like that this whole experience of Ore actually puts some meaning behind wanting to have like a guild, because I know it's weird in a game called Guild Wars, but it didn't seem to be tons of incentive. I know there is incentive, but it didn't seem to be that much importance in having a guild. You can have a team, you can have a guild of 5 or 6 people that are all your close friends, and you can do those dungeons when you want. You can go explore the world, do dynamic events. You can do basically everything. You can even do world versus world as a small group. And I think that, and obviously this structured PvP as well. You want a bigger guild for things like world versus world. It'd be great to have a really big coordinated guild for. But I'm glad to see something like this for like the PvE side, where, all right, yeah, it does sound like that if you have a large group of people all working together, you can kind of really be coordinated and make a lot of progress on this continent. So anyway, I think all that sounds really, really cool. I'm interested to see how it plays out. I'm glad that they came out and said that that's there, and I look forward to that. Now, one other big thing relating to what you're doing at level 80. This is actually pretty huge. Just like in Guild Wars 1, when you hit max level, your progression doesn't stop. You can continue to gain experience points, and when you would actually hit the next level, which would be 81, you don't actually hit 81, you stay at 80, but you still gain a skill point. And it's interesting because, yeah, if you didn't go do all the skill challenges along the way while you're exploring, you might not have all your skills unlocked. So this is another way to gain skill points so you can continue to unlock all of your skills. Once you have all your skills unlocked, though, you can still accumulate those skill points, and you can spend them at a vendor in Lion's Arch that's near the Mystic Forge. And you can get all these kind of items that can be used in recipes for the Mystic Forge. Now, what they have said is there are a bunch of challenging, difficult, or, things you have to work toward, recipes for the Mystic Forge. Now, if you don't know the Mystic Forge, just real quick, it's just this mystical object where you can throw in 4 items and you can get an item out of it. And there's a whole bunch of different recipes that maybe you put 4 rare swords in it and you get a different rare sword back, and different things like that. But with this addition of this vendor that you can buy items with skill points, a lot of these items are required to get some of the cooler stuff. There's going to be like fun little consumables, probably like tonics that turn you into different things. They said like there's going to be some cool like weapons that look neat and different things. But the main draw, or like the big draw, they're going to be legendary weapons in this thing. And this is the first time, we've kind of heard rumors about legendary weapons and stuff, but we haven't really heard them confirm it. And not only did they confirm it, they gave us some examples, and it sounds really cool. Now, first of all, legendary weapons in Guild Wars 2, they are cosmetic only. They do not give you any substantial... They're on the same power level as the most powerful weapons in the game. So it's not a thing that you have to do by any stretch. And they said it's going to be very difficult for a person to do. Most of the components to get a legendary item have to be stuff that you earn yourself. You can't buy it from other players. So expect to work really hard to get these things. Now, when you get a legendary weapon, they take the form. They basically look really, really awesome. They will make you stand out. There is a bow, for example, that shoots rainbows. There is a hammer that is actually kind of made of like liquid metal, and when you hold it, it actually makes your armor turn liquid metal, like you can look like the Terminator. And when you take footsteps, it actually leaves behind metal footprints. There's also a day and night greatsword legendary. There's two different swords, and they have like the day one has actually like a day sky running along the blade versus a night sky on the other sword. And if you actually are insane and actually work towards and get both of those swords, you can combine them into a day and night sword that changes depending on what time of day it is outside. So those are some examples that they gave of the legendary weapons. Super cool stuff. It's so refreshing that they are cosmetic only, because this is a problem in like World of Warcraft. The legendary items sometimes they cause balance issues, and it makes it so that everyone really needs to get one because it's so powerful. And there's guilds fight over who's supposed to get it, and it becomes a nightmare. And if you ever watch Lore from Gamebreaker or TankSpot, he always rants against how legendary items are handled in World of Warcraft, and it's just great to see that it's going to be cosmetic only. So the people who really want to put the time in can get these flashy things and really show it off, but it really is not a required thing if that's not your cup of tea. So that's just really cool stuff that we've gotten there. So there is still a reason, when you hit max level, you can still continue doing whatever you want to do. You can go, do dynamic events. You can finish off your personal story. You can run dungeons. You can go to World vs. World, and you will continue to get experience points, and you can continue to unlock these skill points, and you can use the skill points to get different items from this vendor, and you still feel like you're rewarded for your effort. There's still that carrot of something to do. No, it is not a gear grind. No, you're not trying to get more powerful gear, but you can still hang out with your friends, do the game, and still feel like you're getting something out of it. And with the whole zone of ore feeling as epic as it sounds, I'm pretty excited about that as well. The last thing, and we've known this before, but I'll just drive the point home, is they said they're going to have a very robust live team post-launch where they are able to churn out new content and add things to the game very quickly. They are going to be tucking new dynamic events in all over the place, and so you might have an area where you see an event like running pretty often in it every time you run past it, but they have the ability to quickly dial back how often that dynamic event triggers, and they can put new dynamic events in that you've never seen before, so that it really feels like the world is living and breathing as you go through places that you've already been. You will all of a sudden go, wait, I've never seen this event before, because the live team is there kind of like making things, putting new things in and keeping things fresh. They also said with the ability to scale people down and level, that challenge never becomes, the challenge of the game never really falls off. You can't have a level 80 character running around just slaughtering everything in a level 30 zone, because they're going to be scaled down in level. And the great thing about that is that if they add a lower level dungeon, maybe post-launch they add like a level 15 or a level 20 dungeon that comes before Ascalon Catacombs, it will still be relevant to the entire player base, because everyone can go do it, still get rewarded, and it'll still be a challenge to them. You know, if you did that in a different game, you added a very low level dungeon. Well, okay, that would have been great while I was leveling up, but now it's too easy. So maybe my next character will enjoy that dungeon. So that's a really cool. Bump my table. That's a really cool little thing that they're able to do because of the way the level scaling works. So anyway, I've ranted quite a bit today. Let me know your thoughts. Are you excited about going to Ore and kicking some Zaitan booty? Are you excited about legendary weapons? Do you want to shoot? Do you want to shoot a rainbow? Do you want to shoot rainbows out of a rainbow of fruit flavors? I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so go ahead and leave a question or comment, and I will react to them. And you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you are notified when future videos are released. And please hit the like and share the video with your friends. And you can contact me on Google+, Facebook, and Twitter. That's it, everybody, and I hope you have a great day. Legendary rifle! Yeah! I want one of these.